Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you to this 2021-2022 training session of Scilympiad. My name is Karen Emmons, and I'm the State Director. I'm accompanied here by Emily Owens, the Assistant State Director, to help me and take some questions as well. We're going to be doing Scilympiad for coaches first, and then we're going to do later we're going to do Scilympiad for students in a different video. And I know that the people have a lot of questions. It's a kind of a scary project, topic, but we've got this. You can do it. And for your kids, actually, they'll probably just follow the nose even better than you. So before we start, a reminder. The model for written test day. So our regional is a hybrid model. We have a written test day and then a day of device testing. For written test day, it requires the students to test at their school, at your school, and you will be proctoring and watching them do these tests. Partners will be together. That actually leads to an interesting question about, well, do they each need a computer? Should they be on one computer? You may decide. That's up to you how you want to do that. The plus side about them being on their own computers is that they can, in traditional science, well, let me back up. In traditional science Olympiad, kids will often split the tests and each work on half of it. If they're each on their own computer, they can split the test and go at it that way. Another advantage is if one computer can see the videos, because sometimes, and I'll talk a little bit about this, Scilympiad can come, depending on your settings on your computer that you are using, can block videos or make it hard to hear sounds or something. But if one of them can, then both kids can see it okay. So if I were coaching, I would encourage them to each be on their own computer, but they'll be together in one space beside each other, working together. And I know we're all happy to be back to that. Also, I'm going to let you know right now that we are going to set up a practice period in January for teams in Scilympiad. It's not going to be a practice day, so you will choose when to do it with your students. It won't be proctored, right? You won't be able to assume that there's event supervisors out there because, I'm not committing for 10 days to have event supervisors every minute. Tests won't be content specific, but it will be a good opportunity for you to practice making sure that everything you have will work okay on written test day. So I would encourage you to have that practice at your school on whatever laptops the students are going to use. And check to make sure that they can be into the school network, that there are no weird firewalls, that, whatever. That's the time to do all that troubleshooting. And we will open up Scilympiad for that in January. So there you go. All right, Science Olympiad. So Scilympiad is a program that was written by an avid Science Olympiad fan, a professional programmer. Last year, it quickly became the standard for virtual testing in a Science Olympiad format. And you will see it not just here. If you do any invitationals that are not in person, you're going to see Scilympiad. It's an amazing program. The students take the tests together, even from separate computers, but they see what the other is entering. They can chat in the interface with each other. Though if they're together, they'll just talk, but they can chat with a remote event supervisor in an interface. It monitors the time controls that Science Olympiad utilizes. It makes grading easier for event supervisors. There's many nice things about this program. There are bumps and bruises too, but it's a great tool, and we're very, very grateful for the programmer who's named Tuan, who has given personal funds and to buy server space and everything to make this happen. As a general overview, every Science Olympiad organization using Scilympiad has its own website. So this is ours that you're looking at now. It's scilympiad.com/VA. This is the Virginia one. but every invitational will have its own. You need to make sure that you are on the correct website or domain. Within each domain, each tournament is a separate entity. So on our domain, there's the written test today tournament. And then when we open it for you all, there will also be the practice period tournament. Those will be two separate tournaments. So it's important to pay attention to where you are in Scilympiad. But interestingly, some of the information in Scilympiad is kept at a national level. So it moves between domains. And I know this sounds really picky, but it's kind of important for you to understand that. So when you have an account in Scilympiad, that account is valid for every domain out there. You don't make a new account. Your login will always work. You'll still need to like register your school into the domain so that they know you're coming to the tournament, but you don't need a new account. Also, when you do it that way, the cool thing is when you set up a whole pool of students to be on your team, that pool of students will move from tournament to tournament to tournament. So that also is a great nicety. What will not happen is that the students will not be able to, the team that you've created or the assignment to events will not move from tournament to tournament. You'll have to reset that part up every time, but the students will be up in there. So when you're in this invitational and this tournament, the students will also have a login, and that will work. Their login should be the same for all the tournaments as well. All right, one useful tip, again, before I go straight into Scilympiad, is that Scilympiad will log you out after 40 minutes of downtime and give you a strange error message that is hard to clear. So save your work and don't just leave the application open, actually quit it. All right, that's just useful tip for the day. When you register as a coach, the first thing you need to do is make an account in Scilympiad that is linked to a school and a division. Now, if you have a login from last year, it's still active. Unlike the VASO portal where we ask you to remake that every year. Your login as a coach never disappears. All right, it's still active, but you don't have it linked into our site yet. You don't have it linked into a school yet. So you register by clicking login in the upper right. And that will, and when you try to do that and you give it an email and that email is not already linked into the domain, it's going to ask you some additional questions. Now, I can't show you that live because I had to set up the whole little tournament thingy, but I took screenshots of it. So this is what's going to happen. It's going to ask you to, you'll type your email and go, we don't have that account in this domain yet. Confirm your profile for us. Who are you? Give us your name and the phone number and what are you signing up as? Because, for example, I have an account. This is my test account as a head coach. I also serve as an event supervisor for nationals. So sometimes I'm logging into a domain and I'm trying to be an event supervisor or something else. So it wants to know, what are you logging into this domain as? So you tell it, okay, I'm a head coach. It'll go, huzzah, congratulations, you are registered as a head coach. Now you log in again and you try again. And it says, okay, well, you're a head coach, but you don't have a school yet. We need you to be part of a school. So the school, if it was a school that participated last year in our domain, that school already, information on that school exists in our domain, and you'll click register school and it will take you to a screen that will show you the list of possible schools. And if it's there, you pick it. If it's not, you can create a new one. Now, a word of warning here. The first coach to claim a school is the one that claims it, and that school will never show on the list again. And then there's a way for a coach to invite other coaches to be part of that same school. So make sure you're communicating with your co-coaches, right? If I am the head coach of the VASO test school, it's not going to appear again for somebody else to claim it, or, for my co-coach to claim it. I need to send them an invite through an interface I'll show you in a minute. And then they will be part of the same thing. So when they log in, we log into the same thing. If you don't do it that way, you'll both be trying to create teams of students, and it's going to be all very complicated. And it's going to be all messed up, and we won't be able to combine those two together. We'll just have to delete one. It gets really messed up. So you do that. You pick the school and say, oh, okay, give us some information on the school. There's some information I've given, that's my test school. I just, put some information in. It says congratulations again, because it's always congratulating. And then update, your teams. Yeah, and then you can log in, and you've got a head coach portal. All right, so that's how you get through it. All right, and you may see some of these steps when you register for an invitational. You'll take that same login as a head coach, and you'll go into a new domain, and you'll give it that information, or maybe you'll claim a school in that, or you'll give it that information, but you want to make an account in our domain first. So that assures that as you go out, that pool of students should be going with you all the same places. All right. So you've done that, and now you want to log in. Oops, excuse me. I have to do my password here. Sorry. Okay, you come into a head coach dashboard. Now, when you log in, when you do all that stuff, you get into the portal. It gives you automatically one team, but you may have registered more teams with us than that. So you can go up here and you can add teams. You can change the name of them. Maybe I'm going to add a third team. We'll call them Zoolander. I don't know. Okay. And so this is where you want to make sure I can edit them and change the names of them. Maybe I want to change this one from Zebra to Robins, whatever. So you just kind of follow your nose with that. You'll see here a button that says view pay registration fees. If you were part of the first thing this morning, you will notice that you don't pay in the portal. All right, if you click that, it's going to take you through this whole pane. And when you get to the end of it, it's going to congratulate you that you've paid $0. You have not paid anything. You pay in the VASO portal. The portal is where you do registration. And if you have questions about that, the video from the very first session this morning will help clarify that. So you don't need to try to pay. It doesn't matter if you do or not. If you get here and you're like, okay, how do I get back to the head coach dashboard? If you're ever lost, you want to just go back to the head coach dashboard. So there's that. You can update the school profile. This is where you would invite a co-coach. So pretty straightforward. You could update your profile, like your cell phone number or whatever for tournament day. If you are a school that's fielding more than one division, you need to stay linked together. This is not true about Dominion Christian. If Dominion Christian's on, we can talk about that later. But you need to, select another division or add another school division first. So like Basis, I know you're on today. You have an account in the Scilympiad already. You need to add your Division C and invite the Division C coach to join your group. And you do that here. All right. A heads up about symbols in Scilympiad. Scilympiad has this little twisty symbol. That's a change symbol. When you see that symbol, that means you can change to another version of whatever. If you're fielding more than one division, you'll get the division up here, and you can switch between your B and your C division teams, or you can switch between the tournaments in a single domain. And this is really important to know which tournament you're in, right? So you want to always check up here. I made this little trial competition date thing that happens today, right? But if I could swap to my written test day. So there's my written test day one. And then anything I do in here has to do for written test day. But I want to go back to my today. Well, and that's actually kind of interesting. Like today, you'll saw I'm going to remove this team. Okay, remove it. That's okay. I actually have team numbers for these teams already for this tournament that's today. But there's the swappy symbol again. If I swap to the written test day one, you'll see I don't have team numbers yet for written test day. Okay. All right, this is okay, we're gonna go back to the head coach dashboard. So we've done that. So the interesting thing about making sure I'm where I want to be in my list of things that I wanted to tell you up to here. All right. So the most important thing, the thing that everybody's going to be really excited about is this student team event assignment piece. We're going to come back to that in a minute. I'm going to show you a couple things under tournament day. So as a coach, under tournament day, monitor team competition's pretty cool. Of course, you're going to be there with the team. It's when you're doing mini and you're separate from teams that it's that much more important. But in there, when your students are taking their tests, you can see that they've logged in, that they've started, that they finished, how many answers did they save in the test. This gives you a lot of information in one fell swoop about what is happening. You can check to make sure, anatomy and crime busters should be happening right now. Yeah, my kids are logged in, good, they're doing it. So that's a very nice tool to have. There's an online appeal form too. So if you have an issue and you need to file an online appeal, you can do that too. All right. I'm going to go over here to invitational sign up. We've spent a lot of time today talking about invitationals because they're just so accessible to people. This is a spot where you can go for all kinds of tournaments. It's not just invitationals. Actually, every tournament that is happening in Scilympiad this year is listed. So you need to check to make sure whether it's a regional or whether it's an invitational. But you can go to a site. Let me find an invitational. Sorry, went too far. I probably need to be down here. So you know, there's an invitational, and you can go to their site, and you can look at information, see what they're you can read about them. So this is a spot where you can see and get automatically to other teams' sites. And if you do it through this, I got to get back to the. If you go through the invitational sign up piece, there'll be another little switchy down here that will help you. You can actually even switchy a lot of times to another tournament on another domain. So you just kind of, in some ways, you have to follow your nose a little bit. This shows you, oh goodness, it's going to make me log back in again because I went out for the invitational. Sorry, everybody. Give me just a second to get logged back in. Okay, so there's the schedule for the Division B tournament even that I made for today. This is today's schedule. Don't get all excited about it, but that's just another thing you can see from the from the whole coach's dashboard. So let's go to the part that we all really care about. Let's go to the student team event assignment. All right, so this is your core kind of spot with your students. when you look at this is a list of all the possible students you could put on teams and events, right? Now, I know a lot of division coaches, you make your teams and it never switches. Kids never change events for different tournaments. It's just pretty solid, doesn't matter. But you know, if you are swapping around, or maybe at one tournament, you know, maybe you've got two coming to Vaso regionals, but there's an invitational you're only sending one team to. Um, you will use this core listing of students to make your teams. And if you delete a student from here, you're deleting them from all the teams that you create. So this is not your team. This is your cache of students. When there's some instructions down here, it can be very useful to read about this, but you want students, you know, as you're entering the students, you can add a student or you can import a CSV of students. I'm going to add a student. Now, one of the things that I think is tricky about this interface is it looks like I can just type here, and I can, like I could correct information like, oh, Karen's really in 6th grade, and I'm going to change that. But I can't enter a student by just typing in here. For some reason, I don't quite understand why that works. I've always had troubles with that. So you add a student, and then I'm going to add another student in grade 7. I can save the changes, and poof, they've been added. All right. And they're given a login ID. Now, please enter their name carefully and correctly. The login ID is like their username for when they log in, and you're going to need to help your students get attached to their login ID. But you know, you get them all listed here first, and then we'll talk about how you get the students connected with their account in a minute. There's a column here for whether they're going to be an alternate on the team you're about to put them on. Don't worry about release submitted. We are not doing releases or permissions in Scilympiad. And then registered means that they've collected their account. So that's a cool thing for you to be able to see, oh yeah, my student logged in once and they've made this account. They are connected. They're connected with my team. They're ready to go. Okay, so you definitely want to see these getting all filled in through time. Hopefully that gets us started with that. Okay, so you add your students here, you get your whole list. The first thing you have to do is put students on teams. You can't put them on events till they're on teams, right? So, okay, students on teams. Karen and Ian, I put them on the Cougars. Let's put Kira on the Robins. Poof, there we go. And then she can't be taken off and accidentally put on with the Cougars too. I can remove her. She goes back to the pool. You have to do this for every tournament. Even if you're going to be using the same teams all through all invitationals, if you're going to use the same teams, presumably you're going to use the same teams for our regional written day and for the practice period that we're going to offer in early January, you're going to have to set it up twice. I'm sorry, that's the way Scilympiad works. Okay, so let me put Kira back on the Robins. There we go. I can go back to the roster now. I've got the students all assigned to teams, and now I'm going to assign them to events. Okay, I'm assigning either for the Cougars or for the Robins. And this is interesting. In my schedule for the day, Anatomy and Crime Busters are being held at the same time. So let me try clicking and putting Kira into the same event in the same session. I'm going to try to save the changes. It's going to go, warning, Kira's been assigned to more than one event in the same colored block. It's a conflict. I have to fix it. So it's kind of nice. For written test day, Scilympiad will actually keep you from double booking students. But now let's say I'm going to put her on Sounds of Music. Now the events that didn't have a test period in my little test. I'm sorry, if you could, whoever that was, could mute your mic, I would appreciate it. Bridges and ping pong parachute, they don't have tests. But so I could put her, and they're done on device day. There's no conflict there. I could put her on both of those because there's no conflict for her being on both bridges and ping pong parachute on device day. So I'm going to save the changes. And there she goes. She's on those events. Going back to the Cougars, I can come in, I can make changes. You can put kids on events and change their events all the way up until about a week, maybe a couple of days even before the tournament. But after a couple of days, when we get within close range of the tournament, this feature gets turned off. So you'll need to get these set, and then you can, it's so you can't change it, right? You shouldn't be able to be changing kids around on events on the tournament date. So that's important to know. You also can't do this if you all are following along and trying desperately to do this in Scilympiad while I'm talking about it, and you'll find you can't. You cannot put students on teams or assign them to events until you've been given a team number. Team numbers are coming. We're just trying to get a little further along in registration, get people into the device days that they're signing up for, and then team numbers will follow. So once you've been assigned a team number, you'll be able to do exactly what I've shown you. Anybody have any questions? I'm going to give a little pause here. Emily, anything we should check in about?
Nope, so far so good. Chat's been quiet.
Okay, all right. And you can even look at event schedules, which is kind of cool. So I could see, oh, look, for anatomy and physiology, I signed Ian and Karen up to that. Karen's on ping pong, Ian's on solar, so you can actually go in and check to see what you've done too. All right. So I think that's pretty straightforward. That's how you do that. The last thing here is self-scheduled event sign up. VASO is not doing self-scheduled for its regionals. In other words, it doesn't. For those of you that are new coaches, in a traditional in-person tournament, there's a whole list of events, typically the ones that we're doing on device day, that instead of having a set time when they go, that you can choose when they're going to show their ping pong parachute or the bridge or whatever. And you can schedule, and you set that schedule because you can only take, our event supervisors can only take so many in a session. Your team number will automatically give you a device day schedule. So there is no self-scheduled, but I left it here to show you that that's a possibility. If you're in an invitational, you're probably going to see this as an option, and you can self-schedule yourself. You can self-schedule when you want to show your ping pong parachute or video or do a Zoom call or whatever. So that's how that works. There are a number of things here that don't matter to you. I couldn't remove them off the head dashboard. You don't get to order a meal, sorry. We're not asking you to sign up for an event supervisor. Most of this stuff down here is not worried. I've told you, I think, the things that are critical. So but one last reminder. I showed you how the event conflicts will be set up so that you can't goof them up for written test day. But I want to remind everybody here that there are device day conflicts that will not be able to be represented here. So you can't just say, oh, I did it okay in Scilympiad. Please remember, and we've covered this a couple of times today, in Division B, if a student has Mission Possible, they won't be able to be on any other device day event, all right? So that's something you're going to have to remember separately. And then also in Division C, if a student is in Wi-Fi lab, on device day, they won't be able to be in detector building because those on device day are going to run concurrently. So those are two conflicts that are specific to device day that are not represented in Scilympiad. But it's kind of nice that they'll keep you from messing everything else. Our next session on Scilympiad, ins and outs. I'm going to show a lot of things, but I want to kind of give just a little brief overview. Scilympiad has all kinds of questions in it: true, false, multiple choice, multiple answer, fill in the blank, essay. It does not have a drawing facility. So students won't be asked to draw something on the screen. They're going to be answering questions in words. Scilympiad also does not have an upload functionality. So last year we experimented with various uploads outside of Scilympiad going in conjunction with Scilympiad. So saying like, oh, students need to write this out and then they have 2 minutes at the end of the test to upload something. It was very challenging. Students had problems transferring a file, uploads failed. VASO does not intend to ask students to write something out and upload it either this year. All right. They will answer all the written questions directly into Scilympiad in the events that we are doing. You might encounter uploads in other invitationals, depending on, if you go out there and try some of that. So just be aware of it, but we're not going to be asking it. If we were to ask it, we would have that as a practice option in the practice period, but our intention is not to. Students cannot copy into or out of Scilympiad. They will need to compose their answers in the Scilympiad boxes. This is about cheating. All right. So just know that, but we've had students in the past who weren't cheating, but thought that they would want to write out their little essay answer in Word, and then they were going to copy the whole of it and paste it into the box in Scilympiad, and it doesn't allow it, and then they had to retype the whole thing. So just be aware of that. And a reminder, their physical resources must be, or their resources like their cheat sheet, their binder, whatever, those are not good to be online, not on the computer. They're to be physical, and you all will be proctoring. So I think that's a reminder. Releases are not happening for us in Scilympiad. They will happen in the portal. You will receive more information about that probably in another month. So just be reading emails. That's the end of the list of things I want to say to coaches, and then I'm going to turn to a student view, but I'll pause here for any questions. Emily, anything we should be answering?
No. Oh, I just got a question. Hold on. Are the tests graded electronically in Scilympiad? The answer is yes, but they are graded by the event supervisor going through them in Scilympiad. So like multiple choice questions will be auto graded, but everything else is graded by the event supervisor. So the second part of this question, just because you were mentioning the different types of questions available in Scilympiad, she said it seemed last year in certain tournaments, if the answers were not identical to what was being looked for, there was no credit, like if spelled incorrectly. We are aware
I'm
of this.
I'm going to address that. But that's, we can't really answer grading in other tournaments.
But for Virginia, we are aware of that, and we do our part to try to minimize that happening. Another question I just got is the registration for VASO 2022 considered a new registration? So I think Karen already addressed this, that in Scilympiad, your account, if you used it last year in Scilympiad, you can still use that. It is still an active account.
It's still an active login.
Yeah.
You'll need to log in and then claim your school again. Because sometimes, like teachers move to a new school, they do a new, but you still have the same login. So your login is active, you use that.
And that's everything that I got.
Okay. Actually, I have one other question. 7th graders are concerned that they don't type well. Will event supervisors keep this in mind when writing Division B tests? I can't promise that. I'm sorry. But they're going to be competing against, other similarly, similar age students who also maybe don't type well or, don't have good vocabularies. We always try very hard to make sure that we're making a big push to say, okay, look at your language. Is your language appropriate for Division B age students? And I'm not talking about swear words. I'm talking about, are the words you use too big for them to know what you're actually asking for? Can you ask the question in a simpler way? Or is the math too high a level of math? So I don't promise that Division B tests are going to be shorter, but we do ask Division B event supervisors to be thoughtful about the age that they're writing for. Teams have to be registered both in the portal and in Scilympiad. Again, if you look at the registration document, it tells you exactly what part is happening in the portal and what part is happening in Scilympiad. The testing is happening in Scilympiad. And this is why I'm going through all of this, but you have to register and get yourself linked into there so you can enter the kids, because the test is going to happen in the Scilympiad. And everything that's registration, like paying and permissions and those sorts of things, are going to happen in the portal. Any questions about Scilympiad in the future? Do we have any guide available? Well, that's a big question. Yeah, kind of. I mean, there's going to be this, there's going to be the practice sessions to try. There's invitationals you can do. There are guides linked into Scilympiad itself as well, right? There's some webinars, a reference, so you can look at some of that. So there's stuff out there. I'm not sure how to really answer that open-ended question, but working through the practice is one of the best. And if you're having and we're around too. So, okay, rolling through. Okay, so we're going to stop this, and now we're going to do a session on for the students. I did hit record, didn't I? Please tell me I hit record. Yes, good.